Okay. So thanks for joining, guys. This session will be mainly about an important topic, actually. Okay, important topic for the entire course. Okay, it's a very basic one, but it's an important one as well. Okay, so we are going to discuss about Ubuntu Linux. Okay, or literally Linux operating system. Okay, so that is a topic for today's session, and we will be discussing like about the Linux operating system, the history of Linux operating system, then why we are using Linux in robotics, then how to install Ubuntu, then basic commands. Okay, so yeah, maybe tomorrow session I will be like more into like commands, then programming, then IDE, all those stuff. Okay, I think it will take around 3 sessions, okay, to complete this topic. So we will be continuing with maybe with the hardware interfacing, all those stuff on next week. Okay, so this week I'm planning to complete these installation and basic stuff. Okay, and last week we have conducted another assignment, okay, which is basic electronics assignment, because last week we have been discussing about the basic electronics, right? So this is the assignment that the course team actually created. Okay, so if you didn't see this assignment, it's actually posted by Rajesh. Okay, I'm just mentioning here. So if you are interested to work on assignment, please do. Okay, I think it will be like give some idea about the basic electronics. Okay, the questions are good, and this is the week 5 solution for robotics. Okay, so you can check the solution that is also posted in the Discord channel. Okay, so you can cross check your solution. Okay, so this is for the basic of robotics, and these are the questions for the basic electronics. Okay, so hope you understood these assignments. Okay, so I'm just closing it. I will be updating this robotics assignment to the Git maybe today or tomorrow. Okay, and then what's next? Yeah, so I think we can start with the topic, right? So if you have any questions, either you can comment in the RDLP discussion channel, or you can unmute and ask. Okay, no problem. But I will prefer to start with a comment. Okay, so let's start with Linux, one of the important topic in the entire course. So I just want to ask you a question first. So how many of you are working on Ubuntu right now? I mean, yeah, how many of you are like using Ubuntu or any Linux operating system regularly? Can anyone say like can you comment in our discussion channel?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. So
I'm using Ubuntu. I mean,
okay,
I'm using only Ubuntu, no
okay.
Linux.
Oh, great, great. Yeah. So one, is there anyone using Ubuntu, only Ubuntu, or like? Okay, yeah, Archit, I think, yeah, Archit saying he started working in Ubuntu recently. Okay, good. Hari, yeah, so Hari is using Ubuntu in virtual machine. Yeah, then Rohan is using Ubuntu. Great. Yes. Yeah, Justina, yeah, yes, but no. Okay, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'd say this, okay, dual booting. Yeah, that's also, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. Karthik, okay, not regularly. But so I think the audience, I think you guys know, I mean, some idea about Ubuntu operating system, right? So that is actually good, but we are recording this session, right, for others as well. So I will be like going through the basics quickly. Okay, so that will be good for others as well. Okay, so if you have any doubts, you can ask as well. Okay, so initially I just want to talk about my experience. Okay, how I started with Ubuntu or Linux, then what are the things that I have done, and what are the things that I am doing with Linux, all those stuff. Okay, and also like we will see the history of Linux, then how Linux in robotics, all those stuff. So I started working in Linux from I think 2008. So I only got my computer in 2007, I guess, when I start my engineering. We are actually a very middle class family, so we don't have any. I mean, at that time, I think computer was like little bit costly. It's not affordable for common people. And when I enrolled to engineering, I remember I got a desktop machine, and then started with Windows for sure. I think Windows XP that time. And but after using some time, I found that it's not. I mean, it's very limited. It's very limited. Like currently, I'm using Windows, but at that time when we start exploring, because computer science again, it's one of my passion, so I started exploring all the possibilities of Windows, and I found that there are a lot of things are missing. I mean, we don't have full control. Okay, so I think during my 8th or 9th class, I actually had a hands-on experience with Red Hat Linux. Okay, that's actually my one of my brother introduced, cousin introduced the Red Hat Linux to me. So he's actually doing a course in Red Hat because for networking course, I think it's a networking course. I really liked it actually. I remember like the Red Hat is powered using a KDE environment. I think like this. So it is not different than Windows. Okay, it looks like I think this one, Red Hat, mostly like this one, the desktop. So I was surprised because I didn't see any other operating system than Windows at that time. I think in 8th standard or 9th standard. So this was the desktop environment I remember. So you can see it's very similar to Windows, right? And we can also do most of the stuff in Red Hat. So I was so impressed by. I don't have any computer at that time, and then when I got computer, I think after 6 months or something, I started exploring about Linux operating system. Okay, and at that time, I still remember it was very interesting time. So I think that time it was the starting of Ubuntu operating system. I think 5.04 or something, and they're actually giving the Ubuntu organization or like community is giving free DVDs. Okay, so anyone can order. So it's just a matter of like giving your address, and they will ship how like DVD that you want. Maybe you can order 10 DVD and 20 DVD, and they will ship it. Just imagine, it's completely free, and it's worldwide. Anyone can order. So that's how I'm so impressed with Ubuntu. They are like freely giving CDs for installing the operating system. So I also ordered. First I just tried, and then I got I think 2 CDs. Then one of my friend orders 20 CD, and he's just like playing with it. Actually, like it's a free stuff, right? So some people will misuse it for sure. And then they started giving Kubuntu, which is like like Windows. Okay, it's a KDE desktop environment, which is very similar to Windows. So I started getting all these free DVDs, and then I started installing this. So I tried many Linux distribution at the same time, like OpenSUSE, then Fedora, then Ubuntu, then Debian I still remember. So I have hands-on experience, but I really like Ubuntu in the fact that it's actually pretty new. The hardware is the computer is completely compatible, and then they're giving DVDs for free. Otherwise we have to download. At that time, the internet is not like, there is no broadband or something. It's all dial-up connection. So you can imagine we have to dial up and the speed is like 56 kbps. So it's very difficult to download this kind of image. So only thing is a CD. So then I started exploring Ubuntu from I think 2008 or something, and also from the university or from the college I also get Debian operating system, which is like a father of Ubuntu, I will say. Okay, Debian. I'm not sure you have heard about Debian, but it's very popular in networking. Okay, I mean especially servers and all. So I will say Ubuntu is one of the one of the child of Debian, and Debian will be only released in one per year, I guess, but Ubuntu there may be multiple release. So I tried Debian, and I remember in order to learn Linux command, what I did was I just switch on the monitor, and then so instead of going to desktop, we can change into terminal. So when the computer boot is directly go to the terminal, and then it's a matter of commands, right? So I just by hearted a lot of command, and I will practice without the monitor. Okay, and it's actually very exciting because I can play music from terminal. I can do a lot of stuff actually. So in order to play music, I will not switch on the monitor. I can use some players like M player, and then I know the track path and all. So I will do that. So it's for like learning Linux. Okay, so it was when I started working on Linux, I understood that there is a provision for exploring the OS. We can hack it actually, because it's completely free, completely open, and you can do anything. Okay, but you should need some understanding before playing with it. Okay, and then from 2008, Linux was one of my favorite favorite operating system, and I played with it. And then in 2010 11 time, yeah, so when I'm doing my final thesis, I understood that Linux is very important in robotics as well. One of my project was robotics related. So I understood that it is having very good scope in robotics as well, because we can do anything. We can do, we can customize even the operating system. You can create your own distribution. Okay, so I remember during my bachelor degree engineering, one of my colleague, is not my colleague, but one of my friend in my in my network, actually he created his own distribution and gave his name. Okay, so so there are many works like these are going on. And then so I was just saying that was a start, and after that I started learning Linux. Mainly I was sticking on to Debian, then I went to Ubuntu. Now I'm using Windows and Linux dual booting, and Linux is Ubuntu 20.04. And when I started working in ROS, then obviously we have to go with Linux, Ubuntu mainly. So that's how I started, and it's actually very exciting. There are a lot of things to do with Linux, even if you work with robot or like machine learning, deep learning, all those stuff. I think Linux is one of the favorite distribution for all this kind of upcoming technology, AI, robotics, all those stuff. So I'm not saying Windows is bad, but for our application, especially for robotics, I think I found that Linux is very helpful. But Windows, having some tools that we need, for example, for working with some presentation, even Linux is having. But I prefer like these kind of tools for recording. There are some tools for recording and editing. So that's why I'm using Windows for doing that stuff. Okay. Yes, and I will be showing the installation and everything using VirtualBox. I will be introducing to you later. Yeah, so that's how I started, and still I am very interested in Linux, not only for working with ROS, but it is giving some freedom. okay, freedom to hack. Yeah, so according to me, that is what Linux. And I just want to say some brief history of Linux, maybe 5 minutes maximum, I will say. Maybe I can just give you a basic idea about it. So Linux, it's actually started. It's the history is actually, I mean, interesting. I'm not sure how many of you heard about Unix operating system. Unix was, I mean, one of the operating system founded by like Bell Labs. Okay, one of the initial operating system, first operating system I will say, that is actually not used for I mean, only for business, I will say. But at that time, computer was not very popular, right? So Unix was, I think, one of the first operating system, and it's not available for everyone. It was mainly for business and all. Then there's a person called I forgot his name, Richard Stallman. Okay, actually met him. He's actually very, I mean, he used to travel and he used to give classes, lectures in India, Kerala, I mean, everywhere he's there. And this was the guy who started a project called GNU. Okay, GNU. So the main intention for GNU was like, Unix was not free. Unix was not free, and there was a different version of Unix. Okay, but he tried to create a free operating system that is available for everyone. Okay, so he started the project. So the main intention is like create an operating system like Unix. Okay, like Unix. But the problem that he faced was with the kernel. Okay, so in any operating system, there is a program called kernel. Okay, what the kernel does is that is actually managing all the core stuff, like I mean, scheduling, like we are running many programs, right? In my Chrome tab itself, I mean Chrome itself, there are many tabs. So there are some scheduling should be done in the processor level, because processor can process one instruction at a time, or one process maybe. So there are scheduling, then file system. There are a lot of things to do actually. So we are not aware of this kernel. Okay, we are just users, right? Like we are just users, and we are like just use some applications. But when we start using Linux, then we will understand how the operating system work and what is kernel. Okay, we will get to know about kernel more, and we can even customize this core part called kernel. So the main part that is missing from the GNU project was kernel. Okay, it's very difficult to build a kernel. Okay, and luckily there is another person called Linus Torvald. Okay, I'm not sure you heard about Linus Torvald, but he's very popular. Maybe I can show you. So this guy, ignore this. It's actually a controversy video. He's actually pointing fingers to NVIDIA actually, because NVIDIA is creating a lot of problem in Linux kernel. So he doesn't, he don't like that. So in a talk, he's pointing his middle fingers to NVIDIA, and it went, I mean, controversial. So Linus Torvald is actually like a software engineer, and he created a kernel as a part of his academic project. Okay, then later he open sourced it, and then that project then become the core part of the GNU project. Okay, so when we talk about Linux operating system, people only know Linus Torvald, because the core part is the kernel for sure, but there are many programs that actually created as the part of the GNU program. Okay, so these two people contributed Linux a lot. Okay, but Richard Stallman, I mean, when we talk about Linux, only Linus Torvald is, I mean, I mean, he's only getting the credit, but he's also the leader in Linux operating system, I will say. So that was the start of GNU/Linux. Okay, so from that, so this operating system got the kernel, then applications like Word, spreadsheet, and the media player, all those stuff. Okay, I think in 1993 or something, they started. They started. 1992. They started GNU Linux program. Okay, Linux operating system, and it's completely free. Okay, and you will get the source code, so open source and free. And then, so because of that nature, anyone can take the code, customize it, and you can create your own distribution. Okay, so like any other operating system, Linux is also having these features. Okay, for example, if you want to add multiple user, there is multitasking is there. I mean, we can compare with Windows and Linux. You can find most of the, I will say 99% of feature you can see. Okay, security, then you can access USB, then CD, everything. Then there is a graphical user interface, that is this thing. Okay, this is called the desktop environment. I'm not sure how many heard about that term, desktop environment. So in Windows, we are actually working, we are saying this as a desktop, right? So actually there is a term called desktop environment. So which is giving the graphics, and we can like open the file manager, then we can do all this stuff because of the desktop environment. Otherwise we have to only rely on command line. Okay, so it is having a graphical user interface, or GUI, or a desktop environment, whatever. Then applications, then it can support file system, like the files are organized in a specific manner. In Windows there is a C drive, right? Inside that there are the files are organized, I mean the main files system. So in Linux also there is a thing like that. So there are many features other than this, but I'm just giving this, so you can just compare when you are working with Windows. The same thing we will get in Linux. Okay, but the main difference that I have seen was, like, if you are planning to do gaming, okay, then only limited games are available in Linux. Okay, so that is a disadvantage. And if you are planning to do some professional work, okay, then maybe if you are depending on Photoshop, or like video editing, like Premiere Pro or anything, then I think the Linux version, I'm not sure that is available. For Photoshop may be there, but it's completely supported. They actually created this application for Windows and Mac. So the main advantage that I'm seeing with Windows is the gaming. Okay, in Mac also the game support is better than Linux, but not great than Windows. That is my understanding. Okay, so in our use case, that is robotics, the better choice will be Linux, because as a roboticist, I think we have to hack the operating system in the sense, like, we have to get the access to low level devices, and we may have to edit the kernel. We have to remove some kernel modules. Maybe we have to recompile the kernel. Then we have to, like, completely customize the operating system for getting maximum performance. Okay, so for example, if you are planning to use Ubuntu operating system on your robot, okay, whatever the robot be, so by default there are some applications in Ubuntu, okay, like a word processing, then spreadsheet, then media player. So in a robot, do we really need that? No, right? We don't need the media player, or even the desktop environment. Maybe we don't need. Okay, so that we can remove all this unnecessary stuff, okay, from the operating system. And also in the kernel, okay, there is a thing like when we install Ubuntu operating system or any Linux operating system, you may be note that it will be directly supporting your hardware, okay, whatever your computer is, it will be supporting most of the computer. And maybe some driver issues may be there, but we can fix it very easily, okay, by just by googling. You can fix it, like Wi-Fi issue or LAN issue, you can fix it. So how is that happening? Like, it's ready to go solution. When you install Linux, you can work on everything, but that is not the situation for Windows. You may need to install drivers. Nowadays they are also giving some automatic driver update, but still maybe we have to rely on drivers, okay. So what happening is that there are some default driver loading by Linux kernel, okay. Linux kernel, as I mentioned, it's a core part of the operating system. Maybe I can show you the architecture, then you will understand. Yeah, so I'm talking about this, okay. I hope you can able to see. So like the hardware on the sender, okay, it can be a computer, okay, or it can be a computer inside a robot. Basically a robot is having a computer as the brain, right? So hardware can be a robot with a computer or a simple computer, okay. And in the computer, when you install an operating system, the most closest layer of operating system to the hardware is called the kernel, okay. So that's what I mentioned about kernel. So if you have any confusion, you can just comment. And on the top of it there is a shell, okay. Shell is like we can interact with this kernel through some commands, okay. So that's what the shell is, okay. And on the top of the shell there are the GUI, graphical application, then compilers, then everything, all the things are on the top of the shell, okay. So if we want to work with robotics or robot, we may have to interact with the hardware. For example, we have to set a pin to high, we have to communicate with serial port or anything. So there should be always have a connection with the kernel, shell, all this stuff, okay. So yeah, so what I'm trying to say is if we are using Linux for robotics, okay, the advantage is that we can access the core layer easily, and you can modify, okay. And then then you can start writing programs, and you can customize it, okay, in order to get maximum performance. So that, like, if it is in a robot, you can remove the applications, okay, that we are not using. Then we can remove maybe the desktop environment, okay. So if you remove the application, there are two advantages, okay. If you are removing or customizing the operating system for you, the advantages are we can save the storage space, then we can save the performance, okay. Then it will be lightweight, and then so there are many advantages, like if we are customizing the operating system, okay. But for Windows and Mac, it's very difficult, okay. It's very difficult to customize like this, okay. So that's why the Linux will be a very important part in robotics ecosystem. Not only robotics, but AI, then computer vision, everything is depending on Linux. I'm not saying that ROS or OpenCV or anything will not work in Windows. It will work, but it will not give that much flexibility like Linux, okay. So I think you got an understanding of the history of Linux, who all are the key people behind Linux, and what is Linux kernel and why it is important, okay. This is Linus Torvald. Then then just a sec, let me close this. Yeah, so I just mentioned some Linux distribution like Ubuntu, then Debian, then Red Hat, something like that, right? So let me check list of Linux distribution. So what is a distribution? Can anyone say what is a distribution is? Distributions. Or you can specifically say what is a Linux distribution. Can anyone say what is a Linux distribution? Can anyone say what is a Linux distribution? So when I just search in Windows, search in Google, what I get was I was searching about list of Linux distribution and I got these results. So what is this? Can anyone know? Anyone know about the distribution? What is a distribution?
So Linux distributions were made by different groups as it's an open source software OS. So they made different packages for different users.
Okay.
They're all different distributions.
Okay.
They're all made for some specific function.
Okay. Yeah, that is almost correct. Yeah, almost correct. Yeah, so maybe I can say another word for the distribution. Okay, I can say Linux flavors. It's a flavor. So what is a flavor in food terminology? Like flavor mean different taste, right? I mean different taste or different fragrance or something like that, right? So the Linux distribution we can say is a Linux flavor, meaning each distribution that we are seeing here, that is Ubuntu, Fedora, Arch, Manjaro, or SUSE, anything, okay, if you install it, the fundamental part is the Linux kernel for everything, all the distribution. The fundamental thing is correct, but the flavoring is different. Flavoring in the sense the applications, then the desktop environment, then the packages, all those stuff may differ. Okay, so it may be customized. Like for Ubuntu, we may get some kind of desktop environment, but in Fedora it will be different. Okay, then Arch it will be different. So about, like, you can see, the list actually not ending. So it's a never it's an what will I say, it's a big list. Okay, it's not like Windows XP, Windows 7 or Windows Vista or Windows 10 or Windows 11. It's a very big list. Okay, so that means a lot of people are taking the Linux kernel and GNU application and they are creating their own distribution for different purposes. Maybe, as Archit mentioned, maybe for different application. Okay, so that's why we can see here, like it's like I will say it's like a political party or religion. Like there will be a center religion and there are some subdivision, right, for that religion. Like that, from the Linux kernel there is Fedora based, then OpenSUSE based, then Debian based. So there are different categories. Okay, so actually Ubuntu is Debian based. Okay, you can see here Ubuntu is Debian based. I mentioned, right, Ubuntu is like a child of Debian. Okay, so yeah, so we are working on a Debian based distribution. Okay, and the packages or the applications are it's called Debian packages. Okay, I will discuss that. So just want to show you that these are the different Linux distributions that is available. Okay, so just check. I'm just scrolling and it's a never-ending list, I will say. Okay, so I have worked with a very minimalistic Linux operating system to operating system like Ubuntu. Okay, so there is a interesting distribution called Puppy Linux. Okay, it's very interesting actually, and very very powerful one. I really appreciate the creator of this distribution. The one of the fascinating thing about Puppy Linux is it is working in most of the computers actually. Okay, but the word puppy, you can understand, right? It's a very small in size. Okay, it's not the smallest Linux distribution, but it's one of the smallest distribution that I found. And it's very easy, and you can see the size is 300 MB. Okay, and it's very fast, and then it is having almost all the like all the application in a very small footprint. Okay, and there is very small Linux distribution. I think I forgot the name. Smallest Linux distro. Let me try. Puppy Linux is a Tiny Core Linux, is one of the smallest one, I guess. Tiny Core. So that's why I mentioned we can customize Linux to any level. Okay, so this is Tiny Core. Just check. It's 12 MB Linux. 12 MB. Just imagine it, a Linux full operating system in 12 MB. Okay, so Tiny Core you can try. It will work. Maybe you can try it in maybe VirtualBox or something. I'm just sharing it. So it is having a desktop environment, by the way. Okay, you can see the screenshot from here. Okay, so this is a Tiny Core desktop. I think I have installed this on I think on VirtualBox or something. Okay, so there is a video as well for the Tiny Core desktop. So there is a terminal. Yeah, it's like Mac. You will get the bottom that search window. Oh, it's amazing, right? 12 MB, only 12 MB. I think it's downloading in my system, so I'm just canceling. So you can check that. Okay, yes. So I was just talking about the distributions. Okay, you can even draw the paint. You can play game. Okay, so you just need 12 MB and very small RAM and CPU for working with this. Okay, yes. Okay, so we have discussed about different Linux distribution, and I'm just given the link, so you can just check about various Linux distribution, and if you are very interested in Linux, then you can also like download the image and try it in VirtualBox or something. Okay, I will introduce VirtualBox after some time. Okay, so that is the Linux distribution. Okay, so I'm just canceling everything, and do you have any question, guys? Any questions? Just ask if you have any questions. If you have any, because these all are very basic. Just ask if you have any questions. Okay, I think you don't have any questions. Okay, so let's start with the next topic, that is why we are choosing Ubuntu, or why we are choosing Linux for robotics. I think that point is clear to you, right? It's completely customizable. So why we are using Ubuntu for this course, or why we have to familiarize Ubuntu, okay, for this entire course. So the first reason is ROS. Okay, so if you just go to the ROS website, if you just go to the ros.org and getting started, just a second, and if you just go to the installation, okay, what you can find is you can find ROS Neutic, which is the ROS 1 version, and then ROS 2, that is ROS 2 Foxy actually, then ROS 2 Galactic. Okay, so if you just check the ROS one is only supported, I mean, what I'm trying to say is it's mainly supported on Ubuntu Linux. Okay, mainly or fully supported in Ubuntu Linux. Okay, in case of ROS 2, it is supporting on Ubuntu, Mac OS and Windows 10, but I will again prefer Ubuntu, okay, which is one of the OS supporting the complete features. Okay, so if you check the existing ROS versions or distribution, you can find it is running on, or it is using Ubuntu. Okay, so this is a ROS 1 and ROS 2 course, so it's our duty to learn and familiarize Ubuntu. Okay, so if you check the installation instructions for Neutic, which is ROS 1, and we are discussing Neutic, you can see it is using Ubuntu, and it's mainly using Ubuntu, I think, Ubuntu 20.04. Okay, Ubuntu, it's using the Ubuntu 20.04, so we have to learn it, right? So this is a Ubuntu that is supporting Ubuntu, Ubuntu Focal, yeah. Okay, other things are experimental, okay, for but there is a Windows version and Mac version, but it's not, I will not recommend. Maybe after working with the Ubuntu version, then we can try all those stuff. Okay, so this is the instruction for installing ROS on Ubuntu. Okay, so that is one reason why we are learning Ubuntu. Okay, then the next reason is other framework like OpenCV, which is one framework that we are going to discuss in this course, okay, which is for computer vision. Okay, so OpenCV is also fully supported in Ubuntu. Okay, let me wait for it. I'm not sure why it is not loading. Just a second. Okay. Oh, something happened with the OpenCV website, I guess. Okay, so OpenCV we will be discussing, and I think it's very easy to work with OpenCV in Linux rather than Windows. Okay, it will work in Windows as well. And also PCL, Point Cloud Library. It's again, it's very easy to work with Ubuntu. Okay, so you will get maximum flexibility in working with Ubuntu, and we are dealing with this framework. And also another reason I forgot, while creating robot, we will be using some small computer or single board computer, right? So if you check for single board computer, you can find these boards, okay, like BeagleBoard, then Raspberry Pi, then Jetson, okay, Jetson from NVIDIA. All the boards are using Linux. Okay, it may be Ubuntu, or mostly Ubuntu. Okay, mostly Ubuntu. So in Raspberry Pi you can run Ubuntu. There is an Ubuntu version called Ubuntu for Raspberry Pi. You can install 20.04 and the name, I forgot the name. Just a sec. What was the name? I think, I forgot actually. I just want to check. Actually, the official Ubuntu will work. Okay, and there is another version of Ubuntu, different version. I think just a second. I just want to show you that as well. Okay. Just 1 minute. Let me check that, because that is also one distribution. Yes, got it. Ubuntu Mate. Okay, I forgot the name actually. I'm actually using Ubuntu Mate for Raspberry Pi, but I forgot. So Ubuntu Mate is a customized Ubuntu desktop environment which is working in Raspberry Pi. Okay, so we will be using it, and we can install ROS on this, and we can work in Raspberry Pi and work in ROS using this. Okay, so you can find here, like if you want to work with 64-bit, you can click here and you can download 20.04 Ubuntu for Raspberry Pi. Okay, and also 21.10 is also released, but 20.04 we are sticking on it because the ROS Noetic is completely supported for 20.04. Okay, so now you understood, right? I think you understood the relevance of learning Linux, or specifically Ubuntu, in our course. Okay, so it is very important to learn Linux before starting with ROS and ROS 2. Okay, so I'm just giving more time to this. Okay, because one of the prerequisites. Okay, one of the main prerequisites specific. Okay, yes, so we just discussed why we are using Ubuntu for robotics, or specifically working with ROS. Then the next thing is, just a sec, yeah, the next thing is, so we are planning to work with Ubuntu, right? So let's start searching about Ubuntu Linux. Okay, so this is the official website. Ubuntu.com is the official website, and it's very straightforward. If you want to install Ubuntu, just download it. Okay, I think yeah, you can give the name, and then I think you will get it. But there is an easier way, I will say. Just go here, then Ubuntu desktop 20.04, then the image will start downloading. Yes, it start downloading. Okay, so this is the download link. Maybe I can just give the, yeah, I think this one. Just a sec. Yeah, so this is the link to download the Ubuntu image, the latest Ubuntu image, in the sense the latest Ubuntu image for 20.04. Okay, so what is an image? What is a disk image or something? I'm not sure you heard about the disk image. Okay, so I can explain that. So what you are downloading, is a file called ISO. Okay, I can show you this. Yeah, just a sec. Okay, so when you click this link, so this was the link I have posted. When you click this link, you can find .iso file. Okay, anyone know what is an ISO file? How it is created? Anyone know what is an ISO file? Anyone having an idea what is an .iso file is?
It's the OS image file.
Yeah, so so what is this OS file image? I mean, image of what? Image of what?
Not sure about that.
Yeah. So before the USB drive, we have CD and DVD, right? So .iso file is the image, or it's a clone of DVD or CD. Okay, then using this ISO file, we can burn into a CD or DVD. Yeah, so Rohan, I think he got the point. Like, we can burn this file into the CD drive, or into the CD. Okay, so this file is actually using for burning into a DVD or CD. Okay, so that is actually, we are calling it as a image file, or like there are different image file, .iso, .img. So these image files are like, we may be using this maybe if you are planning to planning to install a game or something. Nowadays they are actually giving this ISO file, then we can mount it virtually. Okay, we can mount these images, mount it in a virtual CD drive. Okay, then we can access the files. Okay, it's like a zip file or something. It's like a specific format for burning the data into DVD. And now there are tools to write an image to a thumb drive or pen drive. Okay, so nowadays like CD DVD players are disappearing from our computer, right? So in order to install Ubuntu, we can either use a image, and then we can use USB burning tool. Just a second. I forgot the name again. Just a sec. This is one we will be using. This is another.
Rufus.
Yeah, Rufus. Thanks for pointing out, Jerry. Yes, this is another. Okay, so we will be using three tools actually: Unit Bootin, okay, then Rufus, and then Baleno Etcher. Okay, so these three will be using. Baleno Etcher is basically for burning an image for Raspberry Pi and Jetson Nano, like for the single board computers. Then Unit Bootin, we can use it for, burning this image file to a thumb drive, okay, a Linux or any version. And very similar tool that I am using now is Rufus. Okay, it's a very, very simple application. The application looks like this. So it's very simple. Just insert a thumb drive, maybe 8 GB or 16 GB, and then select the ISO file. Then you have to, like, you can put the option you can put the default option, and then you can start the burning. Okay, so these are the tools to burn an image to a thumb drive. Okay, the purpose is installing the operating system. Okay, so previously it was using DVD. Nowadays we can use an SD card or a thumb drive. Okay, so this is how we can install operating system, mainly the Linux operating system, to your computer. Okay, I hope it is clear to you. I'm just sharing these tools as well. Okay, so yeah, I think, yeah, so if we can use these tools in order to install Linux or in order to burn this ISO image to the thumb drive, and after that we have to install it. There is a process for installing this operating system. Okay, but for the course I am giving two options to you. Okay, anyway, we have to install Ubuntu, and I'm specifically saying we need Ubuntu 20.04 because that is what supporting ROS Neutic, which is the version that we are using for ROS 1, for the ROS 1, and ROS 2 Foxy, which is the version that we are using for teaching ROS 2. Okay, so these two versions of ROS 1 and ROS 2 will support 20.04, Ubuntu 20.04. So I'm planning to stick on to Ubuntu 20.04. Okay, so I have given the image of 20.04. You can download it. And if you are expert in installing Ubuntu or Linux on your computer, I will suggest you to go with the USB burner and you can install it, but you can expect some issues for sure. Okay, still when we install, maybe in my case when I install a new Ubuntu version or something, I am experiencing various issue, maybe driver issue or something like that, and I have to fix it. So expect the worst. Maybe you may encounter some issues while installing. So if you are planning to do installation on your computer, real computer, like Windows, I mean real operating system, that's what I'm talking about, then just back up your file. Okay, this is very important. If you are planning to install Linux in the real laptop, okay, then please back up at least your C drive files. Hope others will not go erase, but it depends on the option. There is an option in Linux while installing, wipe out the entire hard disk and install Linux. Okay, so if you do that, then everything will go. Okay, so you should be very careful. Okay, so if you are not very confident in installing Linux or you are expecting any issues, then I will prefer two softwares for you. Okay, so you can either work on real laptop or you can work on Windows. By default you have Windows, right? And you can either install VirtualBox application or VMware Player application. Okay, so these two applications you may need to install on your Windows computer. Okay, so there is a VirtualBox and VMware. So I will say I actually prefer VMware. Okay, I actually prefer VMware, but the VirtualBox is also fine. Okay, there are some good things about VirtualBox because it's completely free, and but the VMware it's actually not free. We can only use for non-commercial use, and also all the functionalities are not there. I mean, the Pro version, Workstation Pro, is fully equipped with all the features, but this, I mean, the free version is like, we will get the necessary features, that is fine, but it's not fully featured like VirtualBox. Okay, so maybe I will prefer VMware. Okay, if it is not working, then you can work with the VirtualBox, and it's all up to you. Okay, you can also do some search. Okay, I will demonstrate the installation in both. Okay, because this is one of the important part in the course. And so what is these tools? What is this tool, VMware and VirtualBox? Can anyone say what are these tools? Oracle, VM VirtualBox Manager, and VM Workstation. Anyone know what are these tools for? Any idea? Any idea, guys? What are these tools? Okay, I think maybe I can explain. So yeah, so obviously it's for installing virtual operating system, but I can clarify. So currently I'm working from Windows, right? I'm currently working from Windows. So there is a program called Hypervisor. Okay, there is a program called Hypervisor. Maybe I can just search about the Hypervisor. Okay, Hypervisor. Okay, this is a program. So what is a hypervisor? Okay, let me take the, yeah, I think this image will be good for explaining that. Yeah, this one. Yeah, I hope you can see my screen. So what is a hypervisor? So hypervisor is a program, okay, which is very close to the kernel, okay, kernel or the hardware, okay, you can say the kernel, okay. So what this hypervisor does is that it will enable us to install a guest operating system, okay, to the host operating system. Okay, so the host operating system in my case is Windows. Okay, that is the host operating system, that is the real operating system running on my PC now. And the guest operating system is we can install any operating system. Maybe we can install another Windows version as a guest operating system. Okay, and maybe we can install Linux. Okay, so this program called hypervisor is actually allocating or sharing the system resource for the guest operating system. Okay, so the guest operating system thinks like when we install an operating system into the using the hypervisor, the operating system will think like it is going to install in a computer, real computer, but in reality the hypervisor is sharing the resources with the actual hardware. For example, I have 16 core, I guess, 16 core of CPU, then 16 GB of RAM, 16 GB of RAM. Okay, so then we can allocate the using hypervisor, we can allocate maybe 4 core into one guest operating system, then 4 core for another guest operating system. So it's just like resource sharing. Okay, so by resource sharing we can install another operating system in a virtual environment. Okay, so you may be thinking like whether it will affect the actual operating system. It's not. Okay, but we can explore all the functionalities of that operating system as well. Okay, so like if you are installing Ubuntu or Windows in hypervisor, it's the same. It's the same. There is no difference. Both are the same, but one is installed using hypervisor. Then the other thing, maybe the host operating system is the real one. Okay, but the guest OS will be the same as like the host OS, but it is installed using the hypervisor. So what is the advantage of using hypervisor and adding a new OS? What is the advantage? The advantage is that you can work with multiple operating system at the same time, right? Like you can install. Let me check. These things are working. I'm not sure these. Let me check. So I can show you a demo about the guest operating system. Maybe after that we can conclude because it's 1 hour. So maybe after showing these two software, I think we can conclude. So yeah, so now what you are seeing is I just started a guest operating system. Okay, I just started a guest operating system. You can see I'm starting Ubuntu 20.04 in a guest mode. Okay, and you can see it will take some time. It depends on the resources that we have shared to the guest operating system. And now I will do a thing. Can you say this is a guest operating system or a real operating system? Can anyone identify whether it's a guest or host? No, right? It's the exact thing like the host operating system. Okay, so if you install uh, Ubuntu on a real operating system, or I mean real computer, or a Gust, I mean using VirtualBox or VMware, you are getting the same operating system. Okay, but the advantage is that we can work with Gust and host simultaneously. Okay, and the good thing is that we can even communicate from host to Gust and Gust to host. For example, let me check that is enabled. So there are features like we can simply drag and drop the files. Okay, so here I just copied a file from Gust to host. Okay, now I'm just renaming this file to behavior 2. Then I'm just copying from host to Gust. Okay, so just imagine the flexibility that we are getting here, right? So this mode is I'm preferring for beginners, absolute beginners. Okay, I just want to show you the book called ROS Absolute Beginners. So you can see I'm just preferring here I'm preferring the VirtualBox because it's completely free and so everyone can try it. So you can see I'm preferring VirtualBox for starting with ROS or like learning Ubuntu, whatever. Okay, so so this is the ROS for Absolute Beginners book. Yeah, so if you are interested to install Ubuntu on I mean without installing on the real computer, I will suggest these two tools. Okay, maybe tomorrow I can show you the installation and working with how to work with these applications. Okay, then after that, after installing, I will start with I mean an introduction to the desktop environment and the command line. Okay, so now I think it's too late. I hope this much content is enough for this session. Okay, so next session we will be like starting working with these two tools, that is VirtualBox and VMware. So if you get time today, try to install this application on your Windows computer if you are an absolute beginner, and if you are planning to install Ubuntu from Ubuntu. For example, you install Ubuntu on your computer, and if you want to install another version for experimentation, the VirtualBox is available for Linux as well. Okay, so you can install VirtualBox in Linux and you can install Linux on VirtualBox. So any combination is possible. Okay, I'm not sure the VMware is available for Linux, but if you are planning to work with Linux and install a Gust operating system, you can use the VirtualBox. Okay, I will show the installation procedure tomorrow. Okay, so if you have any doubts in today's session, please let me know. Okay, and then we will discuss the next I mean all those stuff relating to Ubuntu installation, all the stuff tomorrow. Okay, so let me know if you have any doubts. Okay, hope it's clear to you. Okay, it's very basic things. Okay, so for tomorrow, just go through the Ubuntu installation instructions if you can. There are many installation instructions even from the official website. I will prefer that, or I mean anything will be fine. So this is the official Ubuntu installation instruction. You can just go through it. They actually explained using images, and I'm also giving this link. Okay, so just go through it. Okay, and then we can discuss tomorrow. Okay, then, so hope that is clear to you. So we can see tomorrow for the further I mean installation, all those stuff we can see tomorrow. Okay, then if you have any questions or something, you can post it in the RDLP discussion channel, okay, and I will support it. Okay then guys, so we can conclude today's session. So good night everyone, so see you tomorrow.